Welcome to North
Hey
Point
guys.
Online.
Yes.
We're so glad to have you. And if we haven't met yet, my name is John.
And I'm Kate.
And before we get into anything, I just have to say Happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
Thankful for all the mothers out there, especially my mom. Got to say a quick shout out. I know it wasn't easy raising this piece of work, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I have the strongest mom that I know. But I do want to say thanks for all the moms that are watching. You could be anywhere, watching at any time, doing anything, but you chose to be here.
It's true.
Thank you. And what do we need to hit?
Well, we are North Point, and we are a safe place for you to find and follow Jesus. That's our desire, no matter what age or stage you're at, that you would feel like this message is helpful and gives you hope.
Absolutely. And what I know, a huge thing that we see every single week is the impact that you're making. One of the huge impacts is through giving, your generosity. And we've seen this with the baptisms a couple of weeks ago. We've seen this with the community dinners that we've been able to serve at the Dream Center. And I just want to say I am encouraged and inspired by your generosity. And so thank you so much for making this community a better place because of that.
Yeah, and if you're a first-time guest today, we have no expectation for you to give to North Point. In fact, we would like to give to a local nonprofit in your honor. So if you want to go ahead and click the link in the bio and fill out a Connect card, we would love to get connected with you this week.
Absolutely. And so just by hopping on this stream, you can know that you made an impact in somebody's life inside this community, which is amazing. And so, hey, don't forget, comment below. We'd love to see where you're watching from, and if you're watching with your mom today, all right?
Yes, and you can share this with your friends. I think we're about ready to jump into week 3 of Fine Print Faith, so let's go for it.
Good morning, everyone. We're so excited that you're here with us this morning. Let's stand and sing together. one more song together. And it's a song that if you've been around here for a little bit, you've heard it. It's called Goodness of God. If you haven't and you're new and this is the first time, it just talks about, it says the words that his goodness is running after me. It talks about that all my life he's been faithful. All my life he's been so good. And part of the room, when you guys hear that, your hands go up and you're like, yes, he's so good, so faithful. And you just press into Jesus in the midst of this song. And that's incredible. Please don't stop doing that. I just wanted to pause for a minute and talk to the other part of the room, perhaps an even bigger part of the room. That when you hear those words, you think, I don't know if that's true for me. I don't know if I've seen him be good to me, at least not lately. That you're going through it, you've had bad after bad happen, you are waiting on a miracle, you're waiting on good, and maybe the hope is running out or maybe it's gone. That good can still happen to you. And if that is you this morning, I want you to know that we see you. That you're seen this morning, that your church community and everyone in this room, that we are here for you. And I just want to challenge you this morning and speak directly to you and say that whatever you walked in here with, that you are safe here, and that I just want to challenge you as this song plays and as we sing through this, that you take a next step. And maybe that next step is you singing the words and trying to muster up a little bit of hope that's in you for the next couple minutes. That good can happen to you. Maybe that is you singing the words and raising your hands a little bit. Maybe it's you just reading the words and trying to find that hope. Or maybe it is just you simply saying, hey God, I don't know that I feel your goodness, but I am going to say that you're good and believe that for me this morning. And for the rest of this room that hears that song and sings it with all your heart and is in the midst of that, we're going to stand in the gap for our church family as we sing it this morning, and we're going to believe for goodness to happen to those around us, that they will see the goodness of God in their lives. And so when you sing it this morning, sing it a little extra for everyone in this room. Pray on behalf of the rest of the room, and we're just going to believe enough for the both of us this morning. So let's sing this together.
I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. All my days have been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Of the
Some of you really need to hear that today. The goodness of God is chasing after you. I don't know what your life has looked like, but I know He does. And I don't know what you're going through or why you're going through it, but I do know this, that if you allow it today, God can have all of your attention and He can remind you of how good He is today. So you can go ahead and be seated. Listen, if you don't know who I am, my name is Chris, and I get to help out here with this really cool team at North Point. And today is a special day. It's my birthday. I'm just kidding. It's Mother's Day. Can we give a big round of applause to all the mothers here in the room today? Listen, we have got some special things going on for you today. So, in case you missed it in the lobby, we've got mimosas going around. Not to be confused with mimosas. That'd probably end up in the news. But we've got that. We've got a photo booth so you can take a picture with Mom. And for all the gentlemen in here, and I'm a dude, so I can speak to this. We've got cards in the men's restroom. In case you forgot, it was Mother's Day. I'm not saying you did, but in case you did, we've got them there for you. We've got them in all the restrooms for everybody, but we've got extra in the men's. So pop back there if you want and fill that out. Just don't lick the envelopes. I wouldn't do that. Took a while to catch on to that. Hey, real quick, today is very special here at North Point because we wanted to do something great here today. We wanted to share with you the dedication of these children. So if you would, will you welcome out these families here with us today? Come on over here. Oh man, we got some good looking kids and some good looking parents. Hey, real quick, if you don't know what child dedication is, I brought my friend Emily up here. Emily is our Kid Point director. And Emily, why don't you tell us what today's all about?
Today is such an exciting day. Today we're going to dedicate each of these babies up here, these kiddos. Dedications are such an opportunity for us as a church to partner with each of these parents as they make a decision to raise their children in a household that knows and loves Jesus. The Bible tells us in Deuteronomy 6:5, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. A wise and trusted leader, Moses, once told a group of parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, singles, you name it. He told them that the most important thing we can give to the next generation is a relationship with God.
That's good.
He wanted them to show their children how to love God with all their hearts, and the same goes for us now. We have to show our kids how to love God with all their hearts.
Well, let me ask you this. So I'm a parent and I want to do that. How do I do that?
Oh, it is so simple. The best way to do this is to just incorporate your faith in things you're already doing every day. So whether you are driving in the car or coloring together or doing bath time, whatever it is, be intentional about discussing your faith with your children. It is so important to just do that.
Yeah. I love the verse you shared because as they go on as a faith community now and then, one of the things that they did and we should do is they would talk to their children. In the morning, when the sun rose, when the sun went down, they said they would do it on the road, when they were at home. Basically, there is no time that is not a good time to talk about Jesus. Everything is an opportunity.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You guys have the most influence over who your children are going to become, but don't be worried. In the Bible, it talks about how parents should not have to do it alone. That is why the church can and should play a role in these children's spiritual formation. So that's why we're here. We want to partner with you guys. Back there in Kid Point, we want to make sure that we are creating consistent and relevant environments for your children to grow in their relationship with Jesus. As you guys arrived today, we gave each of you a little jar of beads. Looks like this. And in this jar, there's about 936 beads. What that represents is the amount of time you've got with your kiddo from birth until around the time they're going to graduate high school. So now based off your baby's age, if you took out some beads, you'd notice that that line went down, right? So this jar is going to illustrate such a huge principle that when you see how much time you have left, you're going to do more with the time you have now. So be intentional. Discuss your faith with your children. Talk about Jesus with your kids, because showing up and being dependable in their lives is so much more important than doing something remarkable.
And here's the deal. You're not alone. You've got an entire church that's here for you. And here's our role in all of this. One, you might end up serving in Kid Point and helping to play a part in these children's lives. You might end up coaching them on a T-ball team, or you might be their teacher in school. Whatever it is, as a community, we get to show and reflect the love of Jesus to these children. And so we're going to pray for you. We're going to pray for encouragement. We're going to pray for courage and wisdom and good judgment as you guys go through this journey. So if you're comfortable, you can stretch your hand out. If you're not, bow your head, but we're going to pray for these families. Would you join me? God, thank you so much for these moms and these dads. It is the greatest honor to create life and reflect who you are. God, give these parents, each one of them, the wisdom that it takes to raise these children. God, we ask that you would protect these children, that you would guide their parents in every conversation to be available, to be open, to be understanding, and to lead them in such a way to make good choices, God, knowing that one day there's going to come a choice to follow you. And our prayer for these children is that the answer would be yes when that day comes. God, thank you for these families. Be with them. And church community, let's walk alongside them. God, help us to raise these children to follow Jesus. In your son's name we pray. Amen. Hey, go ahead and give it up one more time for these families as they exit the stage. Hey, we love you, North Point. We are so glad that you are here today. And now is a great opportunity for you to pull out your cell phones and download our North Point Church app if you do not have it. Here's why. You can follow along and take notes with today's message on it. And you can go back and look at past messages. You can view some of our online courses and classes. We've got all kinds of stuff on there. But today we are hopping into week 3 of Fine Print Faith with the Jeremy Johnson back in the house. So if we are ready, let's do it.
Welcome to Mother's Day at North Point. I'm glad you're here today. And I'll tell you what, those of you who are joining us here at the Springfield campus, beautiful day outside for a barbecue. And those of you who are joining us at Nixa, I don't know the weather down south today, but I hope it's just as nice in your neck of the woods. And those of you at the Springfield Dream Center, hello! Yes, I think I heard you. Good to see you. Those of you who are joining us online, which is probably booming because all these mothers being served breakfast in bed. Look at you go. Thanks for joining us. And I mean, it's great to have you with us today. Mother's Day, huh? Like, now I know not everybody's a mother, but don't be the Grinch. Come on now. It's a big day. And all of us either were a mother, have a mother, or have a belly button because we had one. Okay, so bottom line, we're all connected in that way. And we're gonna talk about what some parenting today, because in our series, Fine Print Faith, we're talking about all the different things that are kind of secondary issues when you come to faith in Christ, but all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait a second, I didn't think about that. So like the first week we talked about, like, relationships can still be crazy, right? And even though I'm a follower of Jesus and they're a follower of Jesus, sometimes that's still crazy. Last week, we talked about, hey, I made a commitment to Christ, but I think I still sin. right? Great message Chris brought last weekend. If you missed that, you got to go check that out. It's on our website there for you. Today, I want to talk about this idea. Hey, I made a commitment to follow Christ, but parenting seems impossible. And we're going to walk through that together today. And I am just so thankful that I have been impacted. My mom is probably my very first best friend. And I've got a great relationship with my mom. And looking back, I've always had a great relationship with my mom. And though I tested her at many times, I really feel like my mom was the Trevor Lawrence of the mom drafts, right? And she's great and really helped me understand a lot about who I was and about who God was. And not all of you have a great flowery experience of parenthood, but today I want us to look at God's purpose of parenthood. Now, I know not everyone is a parent, and I'm not nervous about speaking a message because maybe there's a good chunk of people who aren't parents, because I know a lot of people who aren't parents fashioned to be one day, and not everybody is. Some people are never going to be parents, but the principles we're going to talk about are helpful for all of us. Just like when I speak about anger, I don't assume all of you are raging, okay? But I realize that we all could probably learn some principles from this. So today I want to dive in to this idea of moms. Now, before we get going though, I want some feedback. Not the kind of feedback like, I wish you would do this more. Not that kind of feedback, okay? But a kind of interaction type of feedback. So I'm gonna give you a mom saying, and I'm gonna prove that there's something called mom school. Mom school is this, where you learn to say all the obnoxious sayings that only moms say. And they must learn this somewhere along the line before they become a mom. They have to graduate from mom school. Because all moms say these things. I'm going to prove that it's not just your mom, because I want you to finish these sayings out loud, okay? So here are some typical mom sayings. If I've told you once, I've told you. Okay, some of you are well-behaved kids, because I heard you say, I've told you twice. That's what you said. But a lot of you were like, I've told you 1,000 times. Someone said 1,000,000 times, okay? I don't know if that says more about your mom or more about you, but that's cool. That's totally cool. Mom sayings. Another one is this, keep your elbows off the table or off your brother. Either way, okay, yes. If you don't have anything nice to say, momisms, right? If you're old enough to get into prison on your own, yeah, okay. So there's moms, So we're gonna talk about these mom-isms, these mom things, and I gotta tell you, I'm gonna talk about some of these ideas of moms and bigger than that, just parenting, and whether it's coaching or mentoring or teaching. I believe we have a responsibility to pass on to the next generation this attraction for God. That's not just a task as a parent. That is a responsibility as a follower of faith. At each of our campuses today, we're celebrating child dedications, which is basically saying to the parents, it's more than good luck and roll the dice. That we believe there are some principles at play that help make following Jesus attractive to your kids when they get of age to make a decision on their own. And we also believe you're not doing it on your own. That you might not look like the perfect stick figure family on the back of your caravan, okay? That's all right. We believe that however you stumbled into this responsibility of parenting, that there is something intentional called community to help bring the support for the parents and the attraction of faith for the kid. And we want to play that role. And what that means is we want to be friendly. We don't want to be just a bunch of people like herding cows in and out of services on the weekend. We want to use that lobby's opportunity to smile, to connect, to engage, to interact. When some kid comes running by you and knocks over your mimosa, not mimosa. Either way, they knock it over, okay? Is we don't scream at them like that mean usher that you were growing up with if you grew up in a church saying, we don't run in the Lord's house. Don't smile in the Lord's house, that kind of thing. We're like, wow, it's a live human running around. That's cool, okay? That's awesome. We want to be an attractive place of faith for kiddos, whether we have them or whatever. Now, I want to start with this idea in our outline at least. Now, family life is complicated. Don't say amen, but I know you agree. Family life is complicated. It's interesting. It's the reason why we lose it more than any other reason. Nothing will make you lose it more than family, but it's also the reason we hold it all together. Isn't that true? Family. If you could think of the most emotional, angsty relationship you have, there's a good chance you're related to them. You might even be sitting by him right now. Eyes up here, okay? But I'm just telling you why. Expectation produces emotional response, either high or low. If you don't give a rip about the person, they're probably not gonna get you fired up or really depressed, right? Expectation is what creates emotion in a relationship, which means families are complicated. There is no one who I make more mad than my wife. I can promise you that. Okay? And there's no one, hopefully, that I can honor and bring more joy to than my wife. Why? There's a whole lot of expectations attached to this thing, okay? The ring. It's true with parenting. It's true with all areas of relationship. It's complicated, and parenting is very complicated. You don't even need a license to be one. They make you have a license to drive a car. They even make you have a license to fish. But have a kid and raise them up? No problem, okay? I can't believe they handed me my little lump of love. Looked like E.T. She looks way beautiful now, okay? But when she was born, I'm telling you, I was like, oh, wow, that's a human? That's cool, okay? So take this little baby, put her in my Geo Metro for the very first time. I don't know if you've ever driven a Geo Metro. It makes a speed bump, make you feel like a Mario Kart. It's awesome. And I'm thinking this weight of responsibility hits me. I don't know if you remember the first drive home with humans that you owned. Oh my word. I'm like 10 and 2. I'm like freaking out because of the weight of responsibility. I remember thinking, okay, how am I gonna, I wasn't the babysitting type, okay? I didn't hold kids, they're slippery, okay? I didn't do any of that. Now I'm good, I can juggle them, I put them on my, shoulders, walk into rooms, watch out for ceiling fans. But bottom line is I'm better at it now. Back then I didn't have a clue. And so what would happen is at night, I'm like, oh my word, the baby's gonna cry and be awake at night. And so my wife and I had this competition. We're super competitive. We play fun games like pretend who's asleep the longest type of game. And so the one who loses, the one who finally says, is Janelle awake? And then you act like you're asleep still and you win. And we thought, here's what's crazy, the first 6 months of parenting, we thought that was the hard season. And then you're rewarded by going to level 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And I'm not trying to discourage you, but I am saying this. I'm saying it's complicated. It's complicated. But there's some principles here. And then we can throw in some neurotic spiritual guilt on top of it too. Like this verse in Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. It says this, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he won't depart. Now, I don't know how you were raised, and I ain't your therapist. But boy, am I curious as how you receive that kind of verse. Train up a child in the way he should go. And when they're old, they're not gonna depart. Some of you picture God saying that, scolding you. Like you better do your part. And if you do your part good enough, you'll have a good product. That's a lot of pressure. And some of you have adult children and you're trying to figure out how to interpret that verse. Because you're like, but my kid isn't choosing Jesus. So does that mean I screwed up? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how you parented. But that's not what that verse says. That verse is not a promise. That verse in Proverbs is a principle, just like most of the Proverbs. It's a principle. It's if you do this, you're providing a better opportunity for this result to happen. You plant these seeds, you're probably gonna grow this crop. That doesn't mean, it's not a promise saying, if you do this, then this for sure will happen. Why? Because God came up with this crazy idea on creation. He called it choice. I don't know why he came up with it. He allows humans to reject his love for us. He could have just created a bunch more angels. He could have pushed a button and be like, we worship you. You are awesome, right? And we wouldn't have had a choice in the matter. But God, in this scandalous thing called grace and love, chose to give us everything, including the choice to even reject him. And the principle, though, is this. My job as a parent is to raise my kids in such a way they're gonna be a lot more open to their own decision with God. Which means this, you don't need to live in guilt as an adult parent. Actually, most parents are adults, okay? A parent of adult kids. You don't need to live in guilt, nor do you need to live asleep at the wheel by thinking, well, I'm doing the right thing, so I put in a VeggieTale every night. That's not, there's more to it. So I'm gonna talk about some parenting principles. I know we're not all parents. I just know this, parenting's hard. It was way more fun to make the kids than to have the kids, okay? I'm just saying, it's a challenge. I'm not saying that we're perfect parents, okay? And my kids aren't perfect kids. But we're purposeful. We're purposeful in what we do. And I don't assume that what I'm saying is the grand authority, that if there was one more book in the Bible, this would be it, okay? I'm not saying that. What I am saying is this, here are some principles that my parents modeled for me, that we have been purposeful about our own kids. I think will be helpful whether you're a parent, whether you wanna be a parent, whether you coach, whether you mentor, whether you disciple the next generation. We all have responsibility to disciple, to pass along. I wanna walk through this. Now, if you're a young parent or if you are going to be a parent soon, I would definitely take some notes. I wouldn't necessarily write it on flimsy paper, I'd chisel it in stone, okay? Because I think these things will be helpful. Now, what I lack in insight, I will make up in confidence. Okay, so here we go. Let's dive into this thing about some parenting. The goal of parenting is this, to gradually, everybody say gradually, because that's the key. To gradually transfer dependence from you to their dependence upon God. The goal of a parent is to gradually transfer that dependence, because as a kid, they're totally dependent on you. They're good for nothing at first. I'm just telling you. Even your cute little one, good for nothing, can't make their own ham sandwich, can't even hand you the remote control when you don't want to get off the couch. They can't do nothing at first. But eventually, they become more independent from you. When your kid is 6, that's not when you say, hey, we'll be back Monday. That's not the time to do that. You understand, hopefully, that there's this dependence they have on you. And the goal of a parent is to gradually transfer it from me as their provider to God as their provider. So we're gonna walk through that, and the key word is gradual. And here's what I want us to write down, that growth is gradual. Growth is gradual. There's stages, there's phases. And so what I wanna walk through is I wanna look at the relationship of any type of mentorship, specifically parenting, because there's no other thing called discipleship or mentorship that gives us a bigger platform than parenting does, okay? And so I wanna walk through, what does this gradual stage look like? Now, if you're about ready to parent for the first time, or you got a new science experiment, okay, that's awesome. If maybe you are already, like, kids are out of the nest, I think this is still gonna be helpful for you. When I was a kid at school, we didn't have like fancy babies that wet themselves and cried and yelled and all that kind of stuff that you borrowed and checked out from the library for home ec. We had 5-pound bags of sugar. Anybody else grew up in the cheap generation, okay? That was our school right there. 5-pound bags of sugar, which was awesome, okay? Where'd you get your kid? Albertsons, grocery store, you know? And then I kidnapped a couple other kids. Not proud of my decisions, made some cookies out of them. All sorts of like crazy things in high school. But here's some parenting things that probably would have been more helpful than any test I took at home ec. First is this, is that there's seasons. I'm gonna say that the first 5 years is the discipline season. Discipline is the relationship I have with my kids. Now, don't think discipline like Catholic school, you're in trouble, okay? Don't think discipline like dad's angry and he's got a belt in one hand and a beer in the other. Don't think discipline like that, okay? I'm not talking about raging out of control. I'm mad at my kids and my kids are gonna learn to fear me by the time they're 5, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I want you to think more the word discipleship. Training, intentional spiritual formation. Think about it like this. When we go bowling and I'm taking your 3-year-old, 4-year-old bowling for the first time, they're not gonna be like, whoosh, right? Okay, unless they're Pete Weber or something. Okay, but what they're gonna do is they're gonna have, not a big bowling fan? Okay, cool. Okay, so they're gonna have like a stand here that I'm gonna help them put the bowling ball on, and they're just gonna let it go. They're gonna just let it go. And I'm gonna put the bumpers down on the gutter. Anybody ever bowl with bumpers down? No judgment. How many of you need to bowl with bumper? Okay, so here's the deal. When we're bowling, like it's gonna go bumper, 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 and maybe hit some pins down at the end, okay? And they're gonna be like, whoa, I did it. And I'll be like, yeah, it's just because the bumpers are there. That's ages of 1 through 5 of parenting. What I wanna do is I wanna put the guardrails in place as what it's like to be a human being in this family. I'm not your consultant when you're 4 years old. I am your discipleship leader. I am telling you what the guardrails are and putting them down. And again, that doesn't mean we don't have relationship. That means I'm not consulting with my toddler on whether the knife is a good toy or not. I don't care if it's shiny. I don't care if it's new. That's not a good toy. There are bumpers. There are guardrails. This is what we do. If you skip this season, woo, your kid is going to pay for it. First 5 years, and most of us are pretty good at this, we're in charge here. And we have relationship in it, but we're the ones saying, don't touch. Not, well, you're welcome to touch. That might really burn your hand and you'll go to the ER again, but it's up to you. We don't do that when they're 1 to 5. Discipline, basic fundamentals, keep them alive. Second season is this, is the training years. Training years, and again, these are just estimates, 5 to 12. During this season of parenting, my job is to give them a little bit more leash. My job is to be able to let them, after we've already had the bumpers down of guardrails of principles and values, now you start making some decisions and interactions with these guardrails. Think of it like this. How many of you ever took driver's training? Okay. Do you remember what the driver instructor did? He sat in the passenger seat, but he didn't read the comic books if he's a good driver's training instructor. He had the magical brakes on his side. Remember those things? Oh, that's what parenting is all about, okay? When my kids are doing driver's training and then I was driving with them, I would have paid big bucks to buy one of those driver's training cards with the brakes on my side of the car. That would have been awesome. That would have saved me from yelling at them the whole time. I'd be like, what are you doing? Here's the rule of my kids, my girls, when they were learning to drive. I'd be like, I want you to literally say out loud what you're thinking at all times. I want you to think, oh, this person's supposed to yield to me. Maybe they're not yielding. Eye contact, eye contact, eye contact, please. Thank you. You are yielding. Now I will turn left. Okay, I want them to communicate. When they're at a stop sign, I would say, talk to me. Talk to me out loud. What are you thinking right now? What are you about to do? I want to know what's in your head right now. And then there were times where if I had the brakes on my side, it would have saved me from climbing over on top of them and slamming their own brakes. Because as a driver's teacher, what I would like to do is be like, whoa, okay, I want you to drive, but we almost got T-boned right there, and I'm not willing to do that. That's parenting right there from the ages of 5 to 12-ish. Give them the leash. Let them make decisions. And be like, hey, talk to me. Keep communicating. Don't get silent on me. Wake up, okay, come talk to me, okay? What are you thinking in that decision? Help me out with that. And I'm not yelling at you. I'm not screaming at you. I'm not going back to bumper ball. What I am saying is this, I need you to communicate with me. And if you're gonna let me lay off the brake, it's gonna be because I understand that you're gonna keep talking and learning and growing. And as long as we have this relationship of trust and communication, then I don't need to lay on the brake. But hey, you go quiet on me, we go slow. That's just how it works, right? And I'm not trying to be authoritarian. I'm giving more leash. I'm not afraid of bad decisions, but what I will not do is let them make a bad decision without hitting the brake if it's gonna do more damage than they understand. So I'm willing to hit the brake when I need to, but the key is to have communication because I know I'm trying to grow independence and dependence to God, not just dependence on me. And then that third season is 12 to 18. That's the coaching season. The coaching season is when they're driving and you're inside. That doesn't mean you're never going to have to say, hey, boundaries, until you're paying the mortgage with me, okay, there's still gonna be house rules, right? Like, I don't need to coach you if you're gonna help out around the house. I don't need to coach you if you're gonna have a raging, party at my house when I'm gone for the weekend. That's not a coaching conversation. The coaching conversation is, I'm gonna give you a lot more reins in your life. Again, providing we're communicating, we have a relationship here, but then I wanna have that relationship where we're walking through what worked, what didn't work. I want you to have bad days at work, and I wanna be the one to coach you through that. I want you to have bad heartbreak in relationship and be there to coach you. I want to talk about everything in your life that's important to you. I don't want your 7th grade locker partner to be your sexpert, okay? And to tell you everything they need to know about this area. I'm just kind of thinking maybe they're not the best source. So I don't want to be off limits for any conversation. When it comes to a conversation about faith, I don't need their college roommate to be their spiritual guiding guru. I want to be able to be that coach even when they're 12, 13, 14, 15. Here's where it gets weird. What happens when they ask questions you're not comfortable with them asking? You have a choice. Do you throw down the bumpers and say, we don't talk about that in our family? Or do you be like, that's fascinating. Let's talk. The word fascinating becomes a favorite word when they're 12 through 18. You're like, wow, that is fascinating. Where did you hear that? What do you think about that? Who else thinks about that? Here's the perspective. What do you think when I share this? And the communication is kindled, not shut off when they say something you don't understand. Why? Because I'm not in the age of 1 through 5 anymore. Because all of you understand because of your own experience or someone you know who they were told what to believe, what to think, and what questions are not allowed in the home. And that was the case until they were 18. And then they get thrown out into the world and have to figure it out on their own. And it doesn't really resolve the questions. What it does, it just communicates very clearly who's not a safe person to talk about it. My job as a parent is to be positioned in such a way that I can utilize my relationship with you all of my days and help you transfer dependence from me to God. And then 18 plus is the friendship stage, which is where I'm at. My girls are 19 and 21. And we're friends. Now, I'm not saying that we weren't friends before. I bet I would have been invited to their birthday party most years, if I wasn't their dad, because we had a healthy relationship. But guess what I am no longer? Their disciplinarian. And some of you, you've got so much angst because you're trying to run an adult child thinking that you hold those reins. You don't. I mean, you can hold a distance, but you can't control that. Chill out on their last name. Be more interested in their first name. It's not about protecting your family image. You're not the disciplinarian anymore. And if you think you are, I don't think you're transferring dependence. You might be disappointed in their decisions. Have conversations. Don't threaten. Don't yell. Don't pull in the leash. Now, also, that doesn't mean you need to pay for their mortgage anymore either, okay? So it goes both ways. What I'm saying is this. What stage are you in? If you mess these stages up, it's called dysfunction. So I think there's purpose for everyone. So growth is gradual. Second thing is this, later is longer. My goal with my kids was to be their friends later. And guess what? Later is longer. I don't need to be your friend at the grocery store right now when you're throwing a fit. I need to be your friend when you're 18, 19, 20, 25. I want to be positioned relationally. Because if I'm focused on being a friend right now, I'm gonna make bad decisions. I wrote it down this way. Don't worry about what feels best now. Focus on what produces best later. So right now, when they're maybe 14 and they do something that's dumb, it's easy for me to go back to gutter ball, bumper ball, and be like, stop it, shut up, go to your room, let's not talk about that. You don't do that around here, I'm disappointed in you. And that's it. Well, that feels good now because now I don't have to deal with it. I could go back to watching TV or I can go back talking about them or whatever I wanted to do. And I could win the argument today. But my purpose when I was best was not winning the argument today, but positioning myself to win in the long game. And that doesn't mean I don't have opinions. That doesn't mean I don't have responsibility. That doesn't mean I don't have insight, but it means I'm always gonna have conversation. I'm always gonna have influence. Now, Outside of parenting, it's the same. When you're mentoring someone and discipling someone and then they go and do something dumb, don't shame them. Don't just be like, okay, how are you feeling? How did you get there? What do you think? What do you want? What do you need from me right now? And you can have that conversation, but we want to fuel the conversation. Another thing I wrote about this is this allows the goal to be focused on relationship, not results. My goal is relationships, not results. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna have good results. I actually believe if you focus on the right relationship at each stage, you're probably gonna put yourself in a position to have better results in the long run anyway. What's crazy is some of you gave your parents perfect results 18 years until you finally had freedom. How'd that work? It's not about that. Now I know this hasn't been a Bible study, it's been more of an author study. This is more about talking about God and God's principles today. And there's a lot of verses on parenting, but I'm taking it from the perspective of how God models it for us. You know what's even interesting? Paul writes about it this. The law, the rules, were my schoolmaster to make me understand who Christ was. Here's what he's saying. The law was my bumper ball. Did you know that when you first come to faith in Christ, you don't need to become a Christian philosopher right away? You know what you need? What's the most helpful thing? Rules. Not in a way of like, if you mess up, you're going to hell. Like, not that kind of rule. But the kind of rule is like this. Hey, this is a brand new culture for you. Let's have someone lay out for you, hey, how do you do this? How do you do relationships? How do you do finances? How do you do conversations? How do you do career? How do you do this stuff? Now, eventually, it's gonna become so natural and that relationship shifts, but at first, it's called discipleship. It's brand new, it's great. We don't wanna skip that formation portion, right? And so this is the nature of God with us. And there's a verse in Luke chapter 1, Jesus is talking, he says this, do you remember the prophecy about someone to come in the spirit and power of the prophet Elijah? Someone who's gonna turn the hearts of parents back to their children. And someone who will turn the hearts of the disobedient to the mindset of the just and good. He was talking about John the Baptist, and he was using parenting as an illustration for our relationship with God. That's what Jesus is saying. Jesus says it's gonna be like this, is the faith community has kind of drifted and been disobedient, but there's gonna be this rekindling of relationship between father and child, God and us, and that's gonna pave the way, because here's what parenting does. Even though Jesus just used parenting as an illustration, we see a principle of parenting as well inside of that illustration. That proper parenting positions you and paves the way for people to be more open to God's entrance in their life. When I parent you the way God has charged me, then it doesn't mean you're gonna follow God all of your days. What it means is it's more attractive to answer the door when God knocks. That's all it is. Jesus is good at his job. He'll knock away. He's great at the invitation. He's phenomenal. My pressure is not what they do with Jesus. My responsibility is that have I prepared the heart, positioned relationally for that conversation with Jesus to be more or less attractive with my relationship with my kids. Some of you, parents of adult kids right now, that's gonna be a total mind shift. My job is not to approve or disapprove of my kids' parenting. It's just to position myself. Am I making their conversation with Jesus more attractive or less? What do they need from me for that? If you're going through this phase, here's what I want to encourage you. You don't need to have a great role model to be a great parent. It starts now. It doesn't matter how old your kids are. Right now, you just say, okay, I'm gonna bring some more intentionality to this, some purpose to my parenting, or whatever mentorship. And I want to land the plane with this. Some things my mama got right. And my mama, you might not be impressed with my mama's kid, okay? But you should see the before picture, okay? Like she had a lot of challenges to work with. I was a squirrely dude, okay? My mom was awesome. A couple of things she did right. She minored in actions and majored in attitude. You know what would make my mama pump the brake on my car? Attitude. If she sniffed a bad attitude, look out. This car's pulling over right now. My dad helped her with that really well. If I ever gave my dad or my mom an attitude in front of my dad, like I didn't think my mom could see me and I could say something snarky to her, but then I realized my dad could see me, and then I couldn't see my mom for like 6 weeks until the swelling went down, okay? It was attitude. I did some stupid things at school. And while they didn't like it, and they would deal with it and talk about the consequences of it, they would eventually kind of laugh about some of it, not minimize rules, but kind of be like, yeah, you're a dude, okay? But the biggest thing was the attitude. When attitude gets off, we call it rebellion, right? Here's what rebellion isn't. Rebellion isn't an attitude that needs adjusted. Rebellion is they're not doing what I want them to do. Some people think, well, then I need to adjust their attitude. Oh, do you? Like, what do you got, one of those in the closet? How are you gonna do that? It's not a behavior that needs broken. I'll send you to this camp and they will break you. Yeah, they might be able to intimidate you, scare you, shame you, sure. It's a pain that needs processed. Any rebellion is a pain that needs processed. It's a conversation. It's a keep the pathway worn between you and them. That doesn't mean that there's not gonna be behavior modification. It doesn't mean that there's not gonna be ground rules and those kind of things, because just as parents need to have seasons, kids need to go through the season and say, okay, I think maybe I lifted the bumpers up too quick, okay? We need to put the bumpers back down for a little bit, right? We need to prove that there's trust, prove there's communication. But rebellion isn't this alarm to see who's in charge anymore. Rebellion is a pain that needs processed. My mom was all over that. Second thing is this, she didn't play God, but she pointed me to God. My mom would say things like this: Jeremy, here's what I see in you. God's got such a purpose for your life. I'm a kid from a small town in Idaho. And I didn't feel anything special in and of what I brought to the table. But my mom would always say things. She would say things like, Jeremy, you're gonna be the next Billy Graham. Some of you don't know who Billy Graham is. That's all right. Most people don't know who Jeremy Johnson is. Okay, that's all right. But she would say, Jeremy, God's got a special plan for your life. She would say it. She believed in me when I didn't believe in me, and she believed in me so hard I started to believe in me. She would have those conversations, and she would fuel the fire that maybe God's got purpose in my life. And when I would do dumb stuff, she would say, Jeremy, do you think God gifted you with humor so that you can make other people in your class feel stupid? Like, I probably not. She's like, Jeremy, you got a gift, but I think you're using it very selfishly. She would call me out. She didn't do it in a way to shame me. She pointed it towards God's purpose in my life. We've all been shaped by people like that. We want to be that community. Parenting is hard. It's hard. You're not alone. Maybe you've got someone to help you parent. Maybe you feel alone in it. Together, let's be the kind of community that says, hey, if we all play our part, I think your kid's gonna be more open to a yes with Jesus when he comes in knocking, and he will. So here's what I like to do. I'm gonna invite our ushers to come forward, and we're gonna take a chance to respond here with our cards. Maybe for you, your next step is a prayer request about your family situation. You want to share with that on your card. Maybe you've got a next step, however we can be helpful. Make sure that you have Right Now Media. It's a resource that we provide, no charge to you. If we've got your email address, if you don't, just write down Right Now Media, and with your email address, we'll follow up with you. There's some great parenting for different ages and stages out there. It's kind of like Netflix for Christian resources, and there's a lot of great resources out there. We live in the golden age of resources, but you're not alone. Let's bring some intentionality to it. If you came prepared to give today, in just a moment, you can drop that in the bucket. Obviously, there's lots of ways to give. And if you're a guest, we're not expecting anything of you. Matter of fact, you let us know you're a guest by dropping the card in there, marking such. We're gonna follow up with an email, let you kind of direct our giving towards a local nonprofit, our way of saying thanks for being here. And we'll follow up, and you can drop those in the bucket in a second. So, Father, today, thank you for the opportunity to hear about your heart, to really dive into an author study of how you parent us. Help us to play our role, whether we're aunts, cousins, coaches, teachers, parents. to be able to shape your principles in a generation and prepare them to say yes to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Ushers, you can pass the buckets. As the buckets are passed, we got a video we prepared, a way of saying thank you to all of our Kid Point volunteers who are helping shape these principles, and to all our parents. Check this out.
Dear Kid Point,
thank you for the best Sundays ever.
it's my favorite day of the week. To learn new things and to make new friends.
I love going every week.
Because I don't have to do chores at home.
That's one reason. Snack time and games are always fun.
Without the amazing volunteers.
I'll be dancing at the wall.
We thank you for teaching us about sharing
And kindness.
And Jesus.
We know you're probably busy.
And tired from a long week.
So thanks for showing up.
And making Sundays awesome.
Kid
Point's
Best.
Hey Kid Point volunteers, we wanted to take a second to say thank you so much for what you do each week. Here at North Point, we believe every child is one caring adult away from a better future, and you help us accomplish that by showing up week after week to serve in Kid Point. What you do is so important, and we appreciate you so much. And parents, we know that parenting can be so hard, and we want to say thank you for trusting us with your most prized possession every single week. Investing in your kids and the next generation is a great honor for us. Thank you so much for letting us be a small part of your child's story.
Was that not the cutest video ever?
So cute.
Well, hey, here's what we know. After a message like that, we all have a next step in response to that. So what I would encourage you to do, challenge you to do, is fill out that connection card. It's our best way to partner with you, pray for you, and just know what's going on in your life.
Yeah, again, you guys, happy Mother's Day. We hope you have a great day and a great rest of your week, and we will see you guys next